before we get started. And drink some water. Hi guys, so this is a spoilerific review of the book Dry by Neal and Jarrod Shusterman. This was my first 5-star read of 2019. It's only the third book that I've completed for 2019, but I absolutely loved it. If you're not into spoilers, then go ahead and not watch this video because I'm going to give away some pretty intense information, as well as my personal reflection on how I felt about this book. So this book is about the Southern California drought and how they basically had a tap out and turned off all the water supply for California, and how this brother and sister, Alyssa and Garrett, how they kind of deal with it. So before I even get started with that, I have to tell you guys a little story about what happened about me. So I live in Maryland and it's really cold right now. Day one that I started listening to this book, that next morning I woke up to find that I had no running water. A pipe actually burst in my building and we didn't have any running water because they had to shut the water off for the whole building. And then they did it again the next day. So I feel like I could personally relate to the characters in this book with not having running water and just how difficult it is to live without running water. And it kind of makes me feel a lot of empathy towards people who don't have easy access to water. But just thought that was really weird coincidence that happened as I started reading this book. But anyway, let's kind of get into it, and spoilers are starting now. So Alyssa and Garrett, they live in suburb California, and they live next door to this kid named Kelton, whose family are actually preppers. And if you don't know what a prepper is, those are basically people who prepare for the end of the world by prepping things like water, canned goods, weapons. They have energy backup systems in place, high fences, fallout shelters, all of that kind of stuff, safe rooms. So they live next door to this kid, and it starts off to where, you know, the water has shut off and they're down to the last bits. So they go out to Costco and they have to get water, and everybody's in a panicked frenzy, and then they buy ice. And they think they're okay. They fill up their bathtub and caulk the drain and everything. But then when they're cleaning the rest of the bathroom, they accidentally, something happens to their water and they have chemicals in it, so they can't drink it. And then apparently they're going to have these machines that go out and turn ocean water into drinkable water. So their parents go out to get that, and then they never come back. So the kids are kind of freaking out. They turn to their next door neighbor, Kelton, whose family is, you know, preppers. They have all the supplies and everything, and they don't ask for anything. They just ask if he'll go with them to go find their parents. And they go to try and find their parents, and it looks like all chaos and hell broke loose on the beach. And while they're there, they run into a girl named Jackie. And Jackie is kind of like juvenile delinquent. They kind of describe her as like a little goth, but it's weird how they don't really visually describe these kids as much, except for that Kelton is a redhead and that Jackie is kind of goth-ish. So Jackie ends up with them, and they get back to their neighborhood and everything, and Alyssa takes it amongst herself to distribute some of the water bottles at Kelton's house to the neighbors. The neighbors flip out, go and raid Kelton's house, and Kelton's brother accidentally gets killed, and they basically escape and leave Kelton's parents and dead brother behind and go to their like bug out shelter, which apparently is in the woods near Lake Arrowhead. So meanwhile, they're driving around. They don't really have much water. They stop to go get the uncle's truck. On the way, Uncle Basil, his real name is Herb, but they call him Basil. They, as a joke, like they keep calling him different spices. So they go to his house to try and get the truck, and he is really, really sick with dysentery because he drank like poisoned water. But he has this case of this stuff called agua viva, which is like mineral enriched healthy water, kind of like Essentia, basically. So he traded his truck for the water. So they go to get his truck from this kid named Henry, who is this spoiled rich kid, and they want the truck back. And the kid's like, yeah, I'll give you your truck back, but you have to take me with you, essentially. And he brings a case of agua viva with him. So they're trying to get to Lake Arrowhead. They get stopped by like a police blockade and go to like one of the camps where they're having people to try and like get all the citizens together to give them food and water and all of that. And Henry they get their truck taken from them basically, but it has that case of water in it. So Henry makes a deal and is like, hey, I'll give the cop the water if we can have the truck back. And turns out there was no water in that truck anyway. It was all like pamphlets because Agua Viva is like a direct sales water business. So weird. So anyway, they get out of there, and along the way they run out of gas. They end up on the highway because they're going to siphon gas, but none of these kids know how to siphon gas. They're basically just going off of what they've seen in movies and TV, and they run into these people on the highway that are that offer to help them, and they're nice. And it's basically all the people whose cars broke down on the highway. They just stayed there and they figured out a way to basically, you know how when you run out of windshield washer fluid, people get cheap and they put water in windshield washer fluid jugs? Well, they realized that there's water. You just have to go through all the people's cars. And they call her like the water angel or whatever. So they get help to siphon the gas, and then they leave the next morning. And they go to they end up at the fallout shelter, but it turns out that Kelton's brother had actually been staying there and ate and drank everything. So he's pissed, and they don't know what to do. Henry kind of runs away, and then they run into these creepy redneck guys in the woods who have water, and they almost get killed. They go to steal the water, but it doesn't happen because a fire breaks out and they don't get the water. Meanwhile, Garrett's about to die, and Alyssa finds a little bit of extra water to give him. Jackie's burned. Henry's gone. They're all ready to pass out. So then they decide they're going to walk to Lake Arrowhead because it's only 3 miles away. As they're walking, the wildfires are basically spreading. They separate. Jackie goes her own way. Kelton, Garrett, Alyssa go another way. They're about to die. And then a helicopter drops a whole bunch of water on them, and they live. And then it's like a month later or something, and then everything's back to normal. They have water again, and Alyssa's still very conservative with the water. Her and Kelton kind of have this weird, like, do we like each other? Do we not like each other thing? Because Kelton was kind of creepy next door neighbor kid who spied on her with his drone camera. She found out about it and got kind of pissed because Henry told to try and break up everything because he thought he could be in charge and all that. Turns out Henry's actually only in 8th grade too. He lied about everything. And yeah, that was pretty much it. Overall, I loved it. I mean, I'm not making it sound very good, but I actually really, really liked it. It was definitely one of those multiple point of view stories where you've got like switching every other chapter from a different person, but it was done really well because I listened to it on audiobook. Neal and Jarrod Shusterman actually narrate parts of it, and then also some women do it too. So it was really well done. And I felt like in the moment I could relate to it with my own personal water drought. And yeah, I liked it. There was a scene with the dog where the dog kind of like turned on them because they weren't giving him water. So he kind of became back to his natural state of dogness and didn't really want to be around them, which I felt really sad. And in the end, the dog kind of left and never came back. They never found their dog, but it was an interesting story. I enjoyed it, and definitely gave it a 5-star. I'm going to check out more Neal Shusterman books in the future. So yeah, I feel like I have to drink water because just talking about the book is making me thirsty. But anyway, so that's it for this review. Let me know if you read or listened to Dry by Neal and Jarrod Shusterman. Let me know if there's any other books that you recommend that you think I would like based off of that. I guess it would kind of be classified as a contemporary young adult book, but I don't know. Is it? You tell me. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to hearing your comments in the below area, and then all of my social media links and things will be down in the description box as well. I will see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye.